All right, Growler Nation, so now that we have added our rim strip, added our rim tape, added the valve stem to our custom Sun Ringle SL80, what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you how to install a set of tires. So we're gonna be installing the FBF and the FBR onto this setup, and this is a 26 by 4.8. Now, to do this, you're gonna need a compressor, you're gonna need a valve stem tool, you're gonna need some sealant, and possibly a tire lever if you need to be able to get the rest of the tire onto the rim. So we're gonna start with this piece. Every tire is directional. So this is an FBF, so the Maxxis Minion FBF by 4.8s, and you have to make sure that you're gonna set it up on the right way. So on every bike, your rotor on that side is on the non-drivetrain side on the left side. So keep that in mind as you're starting to attach this to it. And what I'm looking for right now is there's a directional mark on every one of these tires. So as soon as I find the directional piece, let's look on the other side, there it is. This one needs to rotate going forward. So as I'm looking at this piece, I'm gonna set this sideways. I'm gonna find the Maxxis Minion, and I'm gonna find our valve stem. So where it says Maxxis, I always line up the center letter. So we're at M-A-X-X-I-S. We're gonna put the valve stem in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we do want it to look good. So we're gonna set that in there, and all I'm gonna do is I'm going to press the tire around it. And now, you might need to use a tire lever. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I'm just gonna press really hard, get that on there. All right, perfect. So we got one side on, but now our other side's still loose. As you can see, we still have a gap here. We're going to push that in there and do the same thing to this side. So push it down, get it all the way on there. Let's make sure we're even. Perfect. All right. So if you guys are having trouble installing the actual tire itself, there's a couple tricks you can do. Once you get it on there, if you actually put the bead in the center of the wheel, that will help you out. All right. So here we go. Now we have our tire on here. It's actually on pretty good, but you'll notice there's no air in it. So the first thing I gotta do is I gotta be able to add air to the system. So I'm gonna take off the valve stem cap. I'm going to use our valve stem tool, if you guys can see it there. And you'll notice if you put it right on top, it'll remove the valve stem. So nice and easy. Now that I have that, it's a simple, actually, disregard. You can leave your valve stem in for a moment. If you need to add extra air, which you usually don't, you can take it out. So I'm gonna open up our valve and, stay there, look at that. I am going to grab our compressor. Now this is a Park Tool compressor, Park Tool adapter. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it on here. Now you're gonna notice that this thing is gonna start filling up once I start adding air. The trick to this is, with your hand as hard as you can, slap the tire and then hold it. As you do, you're gonna notice you're gonna get a pushback with air. When you slap this tire, what it's doing is pushing air all the way around the tire really quickly. So I'll show you how it works, and here we go. There it goes. This one actually sealed pretty easy without me even having to do it. Now, the trick to this is if you're running fat tires, to get it to actually seal, you're gonna hear some popping. I only go to 20 PSI, no more. So I'm gonna let air go in, and as you'll start seeing it roll, and then you hear some pops. And it actually seated even without making some pops. This is even better today. That is it. Now that that's finished, we're gonna set that piece on there, and now it is sealed up. You can actually notice that it's sealed up is as you get near, and it might be hard to see, but there's actually a line right there. See that little line between here and actually the rim? That means you actually have it seated properly. So now that we have that in there, it's seated completely. Now I'm gonna remove my valve stem. The reason why I'm removing my valve stem is I'm gonna add sealant to the system. Now, as we go to add sealant to this, you're gonna notice that the valve stem's at the bottom. There's a really good purpose for this. When you're dropping sealant in, and you try to put it at the top, you're gonna make a giant mess. So all I'm gonna do is I have this little bottle. It comes with a nice little nifty tip. It lines up. Now, in a fat tire, you can add anywhere between 3 and 4 ounces of sealant, should be plenty. And in this case, we're actually gonna add 4 ounces because we're gonna be running a 4.8 inch tire, a big beast of a tire. Now that I've added my sealant, all I'm gonna do, reinstall my valve stem. You're gonna tighten it down. You don't have to go crazy, it just has to stop. You'll notice the threads get there. Add a little air back into our system. There we go. Now, once it's already been put air in, I usually only go to about maybe 10 PSI. So now I'm gonna leave it just as that. Close my valve and add my valve stem cap. Now, let's do that again. I got the rear tire right behind me. Everything's loaded up exactly the same. I got my rim strip, I got my rim tape, I got my valve installed, okay? I'm gonna take the valve cap off there in a second, put these tools to the side. I'm gonna do the same exact thing. The rear, the FBR, is directional. So we're gonna do the exact same thing again. We're gonna find our direction. Here it is. All right, we got our directional. It needs to rotate this way. Remember, non-drivetrain side is on your left, drivetrain's on your right. You should know that. But just in case you don't, we're gonna line this up once again with the word Maxxis. We're gonna find our valve stem. We're going to make it centered between the 2 X's there, just to make it look pretty, nothing more. All right. And now I'm gonna lay it down. Just gonna push the sides all the way around, and bada boom, bada bang. Man, that went on nice and smooth. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Just pushing it down, and we should have a nice lined up system. All right, so now this one's really tight, but I'm still able to use my force to get it instead of using a lever. I prefer not to use levers if I can avoid it. I don't want to do any damage to the rim. All right. Now that we have this, we're going to do the exact same thing. Now you'll see the tire's deformed. We got to spread that out a little bit. Perfect. Now it flattened back out. Now it looks like a normal tire. Making sure I have my air. Remember, as we start to add air, slap it. You can hear the air move inside the tire already. So we're adding air. It's not filling. There it goes. Make sure you keep it under 20 PSI at the top, or you'll blow this tire right off the rim, and it hurts. I've seen it. Ah, did you hear that pop? That means we're getting there. Now, I'm gonna double check all the outsides. We're looking for that little lip again on the edge. This one is ready to go. Now that we have that finished, I'm gonna remove the valve stem. You can let air out first if you wish, but I'm gonna remove the valve stem. Be careful, the valve stem will go shooting off if you don't catch it. All right, you're gonna notice this thing's gonna hold itself in place, so it's already sealed. I don't have to worry about that push anymore. The only reason why we're adding sealant is to hit anything that gets punctured as it rides. So the sealant is not gonna help you if you have issues already, okay? So very simply, we're gonna do the same thing as we did before. We're gonna add 4 ounces to this one. On my 27.5x4s or my 26x4s, I usually only run about 2 to 3 ounces of sealant. I know that isn't truly standard, but the reality is, if you're maintaining your sealant every 6 months like you're supposed to, you'll have no problem. All right, so I added my valve stem back into place. We gotta add air back into our tire because it's flat again. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, put that down just like so. Add the sealant. 10 pounds is fine, nothing more, nothing less. All right, yeah, just a tidbit more. All right. Perfect. That is it. So I'm just wiping up a little bit of the sealant that came off from the bottom. Got a little rag next to us. add your valve stem cap back on, and now you have one pretty setup. Perfect. All right, guys, hit us up in the comments. If you have any questions, let us know. But that is how you set up a Sun Ringle mule foot.